So I got diagnosed with endometriosis 3 years ago. I just turned 30. And I think like if I look back on it, I always had painful periods. That's just been something that's been part of my life, which, I thought was like normal
Yeah.
because the joke around that is that
It's
it's
also
something that we deal with. And I think I probably hit my like rock bottom in March. And I just felt like my pain was becoming way more chronic. I was getting it every week instead of just twice a month. It was starting to affect my life, my work, all of the things, which I'm sure so many other women have also experienced. And funnily enough, my mom actually found your Instagram and sent it to me. It
oh,
was like, you need to have a look at this. There's so many amazing testimonials. You have to investigate. And then that kind of like kick-started the journey of, taking the leap and starting AEL and now being an Empress as well. I think it is also so hard because I think we try and put so much like effort and emphasis into being pain-free and trying all the different things, which honestly, like in my journey, I've actually found has been so overwhelming a lot of the time because it does feel like the full focus is on that all the time. So it almost does feel like, how can I also work full time and heal full time and have a social life full time and have a relationship and all those things? But I think once I actually made the leap and started the program, the thing that I realized that I was missing in this journey was actually
oh,
the community
oh,
and
wow.
having other people who had similar experiences to me or could actually understand what I was saying, because sometimes it can be kind of lonely. You're telling people what's happening in your life and they don't have a direct connection or can't truly understand. I think at the beginning, it does feel like there's a lot of changes, but I think if you do sort of follow the program and do those micro changes and don't feel like you have to overhaul your life in the first week or the first month, I think that it actually really does help because then you can kind of see the small things and then the small things actually have an effect and then have more of an impact. And then you can implement the bigger things and then you start to feel a bit better. So you feel like you have the energy to do those things. So I think it is good to remind yourself that like I had to do. It's like it doesn't have to be a massive change overnight. And I think, your team and Farah, who I worked with on the weekly call, she was incredible at doing that and not making us feel like it had to be something that was like flip your entire life upside down and start right here. I honestly feel like I've done everything. I've done functional doctors, naturopaths, I did acupuncture, I did supplements, I've done like cold laser, I've done physio, like I've done literally everything. And I will say that I think it did take some time for me. Like I definitely noticed improvements at the beginning, but I finally had my first pain-free period last month, and that was like September. And I think that would have been about 6 months. So it did take time for me, but I think also having like the patience to continue on, which sometimes is really hard, but it actually is like super worthwhile to like stay in the program and continue doing those like micro habits and adding those tools in, which will support you to be able to like eventually get to where you want to be. Honestly, probably since I was like realistically like 16 with painful periods. But then once I had my laparoscopy 3 years ago, I think that was when I like fully did the deep dive into like, okay, things have to change, overhaul. So I guess
Yeah.
like 2.5 years of trying and then
Yeah.
6 months with you guys. So I definitely feel like in the first couple of months, the biggest wins was inflammation coming down. And I think like my actual like PMS symptoms and also my chronic symptoms started reducing. So now I only have pain with ovulation, which is amazing because
Yeah.
I'm, 1 week is out of the month is better than 4. So I think that has been a massive win for me to not be in chronic pain. And, I can live my life so much more and have so much more of a full life now. And then I also think like the program really helped me around diet as well. And I think obviously having support around that and being able to manage, like I already ate like healthily, but also being able to have like eventually getting to that like foodie freedom of
Yeah.
being able to like, I can have something that I know is not going to make me feel very unwell and cause a flare. I think that's, to have the flexibility, I think is probably the biggest win. And I also think like it was really interesting and like so important to be able to like throughout the program to be able to like actually like acknowledge those feelings. Because I think a massive piece for me is nervous system regulation. And I think that was like probably like the groundwork that I needed to do, and like really like investigate those feelings, and having like the one-on-ones with you was really helpful for that. And I think to be able to have more space and time in every month to be able to like fully be like, I'm going to go for a big walk today, or I'm going to go hang out with friends, instead of thinking, okay, what day is it in my calendar and my cycle? I just think it alleviates so much of that internal pressure that we feel, that I don't think we always like necessarily like fully understand or vocalize to ourselves or other people. It's so hard to take the leap of anything for your health. But I think if you're at the point like I was, where I really felt like I had tried everything and it really wasn't really moving the needle, I would invest the time and the money, because I think the longevity that this has given me to actually be able to take things into my life, practical things that I can now like continue after this and know that I feel supported within myself, and I have the confidence to be like, I understand how this works for me. And even if I do say like fall off the bandwagon and do have a flare, like I know the tools that I can have in my life and my toolkit now that will actually help bring me back to that homeostasis, which I think is, you literally can't put a price on that. Because like, over the rest of my life, like I'll always need to bring myself back to a place of feeling good. And I feel grateful that I have the tools for that now. I feel healthy. My skin is so much better. My pain has been reduced. I feel like my bloating's better. I used to get really bad water retention, like sore breasts before my period. Like I literally don't have any of that anymore. My mood's stable, reduced anxiety. Like honestly, I feel like the list is so long. And I think that probably like even though it did take me a while to kind of reduce the pain, I think it was the nice thing was to be able to actually like see all those little things first and see those changes, which is kind of like not, I don't know, it's like nice to see constantly like you're moving towards the direction that you want to be in
Yeah.
versus taking a step back. I think it was like really nice to be able to like, I honestly loved the weekly calls so much because you're also with the same group. So you feel comfortable enough to be vulnerable, and you're constantly seeing the same people every week. And I think like being able to like share your wins and your challenges, it's not always something that we reflect on, let alone like weekly around like this endo journey. So I think it's actually really nice to be able to be like, okay, I've had these wins. This is something I do need to work on. And I think the support with the challenges or the things that we need to work on, it was like always constantly ever moving. So it's like, it doesn't matter what it was, like there was always something else that you could like refine your protocol and feel so much better about that. And then also have the check-in to be like, how did that go? And if it went well, amazing. And if it didn't, like, let's think about a different way to do this. And I think that's also like not just like practical things, it's also emotional things as well. Like even how to like help yourself like have little breaks during the workday, or even if it's like 10 minutes you go for a walk around the block in the middle of the day. Like I don't know, it's you sometimes I think we get so caught up in everything that it has to be like very strict protocols, but sometimes it is just like tiny little things that we can like have in our toolkit and just like be like, I can do that today. And even if you
Yeah.
don't feel like able to do it, there's something else that you'd be able to do, even if it's just lying down or breathing for 5 minutes, shaking for 5 minutes. A big piece of it that I have also learned, it's like you have to have the belief. And I know that that sounds so easy to say when you're kind of on the other side of it and when you are in some feeling something chronically. But I think like almost believing that there is a new, different version of you that is on the other side of this, like you can have that life. And it sounds, I like hear myself saying that, and it almost like I can hear myself like 6 months ago being like, I probably would listen to someone being like, oh, is that really possible? And it sounds so like cringy, but like it genuinely is. You just have to have the consistency and belief that you can do it. And like it's there waiting for you eventually.
Yeah.